biographer has said that there's been truly three horrid wives in history: Job's wife, Jezebel, and Molly Wesley. Proverbs 18:22 says this: "Who has found a wife has found a good thing." And on February 10th of 1751, John Wesley thought he had found a good thing. Now, he had previously preached against the idea of preachers marrying because it would interfere with their ministry. But a few years earlier, Brother Charles had married, and then George Whitefield married, and it didn't seem to interfere with their ministry, so he thought he would give it a go. And give it a go he did. He married Molly and described her as frugal, hard-working, clean, and neat, and past the age of childbearing, which at 46 was important to John. So they married, and 2 weeks later he got on his horse, because the understanding had been that even though he was married, he wouldn't preach one less sermon or travel one less mile. Well, to her credit, Molly did try at first. She went with him on some circuit riding preaching adventures, but found she didn't like riding a horse. She didn't enjoy spending her time in the slums, and she really got tired of hearing John preach. So true to his word, he continued on horseback, and she went home. But unfortunately, she also became very bitter, intolerant, and quite violent. It has been said that she would rifle his pockets, destroy his papers, read all of his mail, repeatedly accused him of adultery to his critics, at one time even saying that he was sleeping with Charles's wife. No evidence historically for any of that, but Molly sure said it to an awful lot of people. And Charles remarked one time, "My brother has married a ferret." Well, she left him in 1767, returned in 68, left again in 69, returned in 70, and left again in 71. And at that point, John Wesley wrote in his journal, "I didn't desert her, I didn't send her away, but I shall not recall her." And it was just a few years later that he sat down and wrote this entry in his journal: "I came to London and was informed that my wife died on Monday. This evening she was buried, though I was not aware of it." Well, what can we learn from this? Well, one of the first things we learn is that being a Christian, being a man of God, even being a minister, does not guarantee a happy marriage. Another thing that we can learn is that the husband and wife calling is just as sacred as any other calling, whether your calling is to be a plumber or a preacher. The call of husband and wife is also a sacred calling, and the time spent in nurturing a marriage, nurturing a family, is a sacred thing and must never be treated as anything less than that. Was it right for John to say, "I will marry and not travel one less mile"? If you're going to marry, it's going to require some changes in the way you do things, and that's okay. Another thing we learn from this is that marriage really requires compatible values. Obviously, John cared very much and was passionate about his ministry, and obviously, Molly didn't share that passion. If you are not married and you're looking around, look for somebody with similar passions. Someone once asked me, a young man, how he would know that the woman was right for him. And I said to him, well, here's the thing. You make it your point to run after God. Run after Him with all your heart. And while you're running, every once in a while, look over to the side and see if there's somebody keeping pace with you running after God. And when you see that there is, maybe see if you can run together. You never know. But one thing you don't want to do is look for somebody who's way ahead of you or lagging way behind in your running. You want compatible values. You want a matched passion. Another thing that we learn from this marriage is that we must be patient and we must listen to those who know us best. John had always said that neither he or Charles would marry without consulting the other. John didn't do that. He had only decided 2 weeks previous to the wedding to marry Molly and had jumped right into it and went against Charles' advice, who described the wedding as a day that made us all want to hide our faces. Well, Today, February 10th, I hope is a good day in your marriage. And if it's not, it's a day that can be made better. We must learn to compromise. We must learn to change a little bit. We must learn patience. We must learn to get our passions in line with each other. And then we remember, if you found a wife or a husband, it's a good thing, but you gotta take care of it. Have a great day. We'll see you tomorrow.